Lorraine's light sleep meant she often lay awake, her old house filling the darkness with its familiar creaks and groans. But one night, as she listened, something about the sounds shifted, filling her with an inexplicable dread. It started as a feeling of heaviness pressing down on her chest. She opened her eyes and tried to sit up, but found she couldn't move. Panic surged through her as she strained to lift even a finger. The darkness of her bedroom seemed thicker, more oppressive, and then she saw her. A shadowy figure stood in the doorway, its form barely distinguishable in the darkness. It looked like a woman with horns, a terrifying figure emitting an evil-like aura, a darkness that seemed to swallow any and all light. Lorraine's breath grew rapid, but she couldn't scream, couldn't even make a sound. The figure remained motionless, watching her. As the paralysis began to fade, Lorraine's heart pounded in her ears. She could finally move, but the figure had disappeared, leaving her to wonder if it had been a dream. Night after night, the paralysis returned, and each time, a different figure grew closer. At first, they stood in the doorway, a shadow among shadows. But soon they began to creep forward, their presence becoming more tangible, more menacing. The whispers started then.
We've been waiting for you.
Soft, sibilant promises of power and immortality. The voices were seductive, almost comforting, but it filled Lorraine with terror. Lorraine's health began to decline. She grew pale and gaunt, her eyes hollow from lack of sleep. Friends and colleagues noticed, urging her to see a doctor. She did, but the tests found nothing. She was given sleep aids, but they only made her more vulnerable to the paralysis. Each night, the demons came closer, their whispers more insistent. Desperate, Lorraine turned to the internet, seeking answers. She found stories of sleep paralysis and shadowy figures, but none that matched her experiences. One night she stumbled upon a forum dedicated to the occult. Here she found a thread about a demon woman who appeared with others during sleep paralysis, servants of the demon king who sought to possess the souls of the living. The more fear they instilled, the weaker their victim became, until they were defenseless against possession. Lorraine's fear grew. She tried everything: charms, prayers, even salt around her bed. Nothing worked. The demons continued their relentless approach, their whispers now a constant drone in Lorraine's ears. They spoke of the demon king, of his power, and what Lorraine could gain by surrendering to him. Lorraine resisted, but her will was weakening. One night, as the paralysis took hold, the demons were no longer at the door. One was laying right next to her. She struggled to move, to cry out, but her body was frozen in terror. Lorraine's mind screamed, but no sound escaped her lips. She could feel her consciousness slipping, her will fading. The room seemed to darken further, the shadows closing in. The demon leaned closer, its face inches from Lorraine's. She could hear the Demon King's voice now, deep and resonant, urging her to surrender. Her last bit of resistance crumbled, and she felt a cold, creeping darkness envelop her. Lorraine's soul was being torn from her body, a sensation of being ripped apart from the inside. Her scream was silent, echoing only in her mind as the darkness consumed her. Lorraine's bed was empty. Her body was gone, leaving only an unnatural blackened mark on the sheets. Friends and family searched, but she was never found. In her room, the air was thick with an oppressive silence. If one looked closely at the walls, they might see a shadow, a lost and empty shadow. It was Lorraine's, eternally witnessing her own demise. The Demon King had taken her soul.
So You can't hide. You can't hide from me.